So welcome back to the channel. I wasn't planning on doing one of these channel chats until this was up and running and I'd taken it for a couple of trips. So I was looking at least another couple of months before I did one. But I've been inundated with questions about, one, where the Defender is, two, why did you buy an L322, and what are the plans? Now, I think when I laid out the first video I did on the introduction of the L322, in essence I want to turn this into a really good functional off-roader and overland vehicle. So the Defender itself has now been retired to one of my father's barns. It's going to stay there for the winter. It's covered up and basically all the batteries are on trickle charge. It would have stayed in the driveway in London. It would have been exposed to the elements, so it's actually good that it's covered up. So I'm happy with that. So why an L322? I had been looking around before I went away for another vehicle because I'd felt that I'd pretty much exhausted all I could do with the Defender, and I need a hobby to keep me busy. There was not a lot the Defender needed as far as more things being added to it, bolted to it. I'd pretty much exhausted everything I could possibly do with that vehicle. The only thing, and I think I mentioned this in one of my other videos, the only thing I did think about doing was adding a 1000-watt inverter, and I ordered one from Australia while I was away, and when I came back that was sitting there waiting to be installed. I'm going to change my mind on that and put the inverter in this vehicle. So why the L322? I had been looking around in the early part of the summer for another project vehicle, and I was toying between the idea of a Discovery 3 or Discovery 4 or one of these. In the end, I've had more Range Rovers than I've had Defenders, so this is now my 6th. So I've had 3 classics, a P38, one of the BMW versions of the L322 in 2003, and now this. So this is a 2010 Autobiography Black, and as I mentioned in my introduction video, there's less than 70 in the UK, and this one is in immaculate condition inside. For a 10-year-old vehicle, I did pretty well. It's got 135,000 miles on it, but I got the full service history. I had looked at another one, but somebody had beat me to it. They put a deposit down about 2 hours before I said I'm coming to look at it. Felt quite disappointed, but I know you shouldn't do that on the without even looking at a vehicle, because I felt that one was the one, and it wasn't meant to be. And within less than a day I had a call from somebody else and said, hey, I got one coming in. So went up to Manchester, bought it, needed some things doing on it, just minor, not minor because it was quite a hefty bill, but anyway, it was things that I felt that needed to be done to get this car where I wanted it, where I was happy with it. So I'm happy with it the way it is at the moment. As you can see from the other videos, I'm running around changing things the way I want it. So clearly USB sockets, the easy lift kit that I put in, changing the LEDs and a bunch of other things just so it turns out the way that I want it. So going forward, I'm going to focus my attention on modifying this vehicle, and I'm planning on going to Spain to run some of the similar trails that I did in the Defender. I actually believe now that this, with the lift kit, with the all-terrain tires, I firmly believe this is going to be far more capable than the Defender. Now, I can guarantee you this is going to be far more comfortable than the Defender, but that remains to be seen how reliable this one is. So in all the years I had the Defender, that was, well, still got it, so sorry about that. In the years I've had it, it has never once let me down. It has never once failed to start. It has never stranded me. There's been some issues, mostly caused by me, where I went through some really deep water and blew out the alternator, but it still got me home. There's been some niggly little things that have gone on with it, but there's nothing major that has stranded me. So it has been extremely reliable, and even in the trip. So we've been to Croatia, I've been to Spain and Portugal off-road 3 times. We've done another trip to Spain where we clocked close to 3,000 miles and all the way up through France. Not a single thing went wrong with it. Now, one of those trips, which was quite interesting, probably about 2 or 3 years ago, I drove that thing close to 3,000 miles on a bearing that had gone in the transfer box, and it used to make horrendous noise if you were driving at 50 mile an hour and took your foot off the throttle and hear it wind down. But it got us home. It actually did some off-roading as well. It was fine. So the Defender's, as far as I'm concerned, in a class above its own. One thing that's quite interesting about this, and I'm not going to drone on too longer, I promise, is that when I bought the Defender, I managed to find out the build date for it. When I bought this, I did the same thing. They're only 9 days apart. The Defender came off the production line 9 days after this one, in 2010. So this one is actually older than the Defender. The other thing is, as stupid as this is, I've had a number of offers for the Defender, probably in the last year, north of £50,000. I could buy 3 of these and still have change left. And when you think about that, it's absolutely insane. I mean, this vehicle is gorgeous inside, it's comfortable, it's got every sort of luxury refinement you could possibly want. The Defender, although it's been modified, high back seats, leather door cards, all the rest of that, just doesn't compare. But the Defender is probably worth north of 50 grand. If anyone wants it, I might consider it. Now, to me, the L322 out of the Range Rovers is probably the last of the best off-road vehicles, or off-road capable vehicles. So if you think of the classic brilliant off-road, P38 was a transformation air suspension to get it into this sort of phase of its development. But I honestly believe that this is the best shaped Range Rover, bar the 2-door classic. You can't beat that. But out of all of them that are out there, besides the first Range Rover 2-door classic, I believe this is the best looking one. When you go to the L405 and the new one, I love the new one. I think it looks stunning, especially from the back. But to be honest, are you going to take that off-road? No. Is it built to go off-road? Maybe, but a lot of the promotional videos you've seen, it's going up dirt roads. It's not doing anything as strenuous as most of the vehicles you would expect it to do. So a lot of that, I think, has been de-emphasized. This one, however, I believe with the locking rear diff, all the traction mods that go on this vehicle, this is far more capable, the far more capable Range Rover out there than the 405. And especially on all-terrain tires, I believe this thing is unstoppable off-road. I'm to be proven wrong, but that's what I believe, and I think this is by far the most capable Range Rover out there. Now, you can argue the Defender, the new one, is probably more capable, but I don't know. I look at the new Defender as a Discovery 4 with a different body on it. There's some new chicanery and wizardry going on in the electronics and everything, and yes, the body looks good and all of that stuff, but to be honest, I think this can outperform a Defender off-road. I'm sure a lot of people are going to tell me that I'm wrong, but we'll see. But I'm going to go test it and see what I can do. The guy that I bought my wheels and tires off of eBay was a relatively local to me in London, and came by, and I told him what I was going to do with this. He was mortified that I would be taking such a gorgeous vehicle off-road. A couple of things that I am thinking of doing. I am thinking of getting it wrapped with a clear coat down the sides, just to protect it from any scrapes and scratches. To be determined whether I go ahead and do that, because most of the stuff that I have done in Spain, in the Pyrenees, there's been very, very few occasions where the Defender has got scraped and scratched. The trails are quite wide, but we'll see about that. But I have no intention of rock crawling this or bashing it or denting it. My intention is to try and keep it as close to factory as I possibly can and not go down this horrendous mods. I have considered rock sliders. It might be an option, but we'll see. Anyway, just wanted to give you that update. L322 Overland build. The videos will keep on coming. I've got a lot to do on it over the coming weeks and months. Looking down on this, the dashboard is all apart and the switchgear is all apart. And I'm working my way through wiring up some USBs into the different cubby boxes and everything. But nothing major, and I'm really happy with what we've got. So thanks for watching. Stick with it, subscribe and watch all of the builds unfold, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.